So when we go into a CMA, we're looking at it from a buyer perspective because that's our target market, right? So we want the seller. We always take our laptop. So when you're at your computer prepping this, it's going to be really the same. You're going to take the client through the same process in front of them. But we would pull the neighborhood first. So a lot of neighborhoods, they have subsets, right? So if you have, let's say, 250 homes within a 5,000 neighborhood community, I would start by going large because you're going to, if somebody's saying, hey, I want, for instance, in our area, we want these school districts, or we want to be, this drive time, and we're going to pull the broad area and say, okay, well, if a buyer had a budget of up to 500,000 and they're looking between 4 and 500 in this school district, what pops up? Location is lifestyle, right? So a lot of what you're doing is you're just trying to identify what's our target buyer and what would they be searching for online. That might be lot size, that might be square footage, year built. So look at it from a buyer perspective. And that's kind of like your mile high, your bird's eye vision. And then you're going to come down to the seller perspective. And when I say that, that's when we get really specific. So we see, for the whole neighborhood, if there's, let's say 100 sold in the last, and right now we're only going 6 months back, then we're going to dial it down to the subset. If there's no subsets within this subdivision or area that you're looking in, then you're going to start to narrow down criteria. The first thing we look at, this is going to vary from market to market. Our market, we see a lot of variation between lot size. So sometimes there's a 1/4 of an acre. Sometimes we're looking at 2 acres. So we would identify a range for lot size. So let's assume our property is 2 acres. We would maybe pull a minimum of 1 and up to 5 acres. Let's say the house was 4,000 square feet. We would do the search from 3,000 to 5,000. And then assume that it's a 2019 new build, like newer built. Okay, we probably would not look at anything built before 2010 or before 2000, depending on how many properties are coming up on the search. And then if it's a single story or 2-story, if it has a pool or it doesn't have a pool, those are the other things you can start to take into consideration if you have enough inventory. Ideally, we're only showing our sellers 3 sold properties, and then the top 2 or 3 that are active, if you have actives in your market right now, or they're under contract, right? So we start with a really mile high version of, hey, if a buyer were to set up a search, what is everything that they would see? And then we're going to narrow down to how many comps can we find that are most similar to this seller. When we talk about market area knowledge, I think it's really important that we show up as neighborhood experts. Even if you've never sold a house or you've never even been to the neighborhood, that does not mean you don't have the ability to show up knowing the numbers at a high level. So for every single appointment that we go on, we have a cyber backer who pulls these numbers for the area so that every agent in our team literally is showing up, and the agent is now able to start the conversation off with, did you know, right? Were you aware we did a listing, we did a CMA prep this morning actually for a listing appointment for tomorrow. So Pierre's going to put that in the chat channel on Slack, the prep work that our cyberbacker does. Because guys, all this is pulling data from MLS. So on here, you can see, because this is in the chat channel, it's what does the seller want to list at? There was a range, 750 to 8. Are they interviewing other agents? You see motivation, but then you see where should we take it? And then you also see how many houses have sold in the last 12 months. Well, there's 14. I've personally sold 5 of those 14. That's really important if you have market share in a certain area. What's the average price per square foot in the neighborhood? What's the average sales price? So in here, it says the average sales price in the neighborhood is $902,000. The average price per square foot is $235,000. The average list price for these 14 homes is sold to list price is 103%. Now that I know the neighborhood, I can then go compare it to mine, right? So this is all about knowing your numbers. You can literally have a cyberpacker pull these for you every single time you go on an appointment. So you're showing up literally knowing all of the numbers and you're the neighborhood expert.
So on the promise script, when they choose to hire you, it's, hey, Now, last, I just want to go through our promise such that this is the most amazing real estate experience that you've ever had. Fair? Yeah, great. So, and then I basically just go through, I'm going to just kind of sum this up, guys. The script's in your workbook, but basically the goal of the promise script is to set the expectation that here's the most important thing. Paint a picture. I've been in real estate for X amount of time. Throughout my time in real estate, there's always one thing that comes up that's out of my control, right? There's typically one thing. My goal is to make this as simple and stress-free as possible for you. In order to do that, I unfortunately cannot control other people. I can't control appraisers. I can't control inspectors. I can't control other agents. Gosh, would that make my life so much easier? What I can control are the solutions that I provide when that one thing comes up, right? Because I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what it is, but just know that I'm going to provide a solution. So here's what this is going to sound like. My 5-star experience to you is going to be, hey, Alexis, I've got good news, bad news. Bad news is the appraisal came in $50,000 short. Good news is I've already sent 5 comps to the appraiser. I don't know, because again, like we talked about when we first, chose to work together, I don't know when they're going to get back to me because I don't control their communication pattern. However, just know that I'm working on this. I'm fighting for you on this. I've been in contact with the other agents. What questions do you have? As soon as I know something, you will be my first call. Sound great? Awesome. All right. I'm working hard for you on this. That's what that might sound like. That's a 5-star experience to me, right? Because I'm doing everything that I can for you to ensure that this is as simple and stress-free as possible and you make top dollar. Fair? By doing that, the one thing that I ask in return first is a 5-star review. Most people, when they look for anything online, right? Amazon, where do they go? The reviews, right? Before they buy it. The same thing happens with real estate. There are, over 10,000 realtors in our market. There's a lot of competition. My goal is to work with people that, based on my reputation. So should I deliver a 5-star review? Would you be willing to write the 5-star review, right? Yes, great. Then I say, awesome. Also, what I found in just being in business for this long is that when you're talking about selling, you're going to come across other people that are thinking about making a move or ask questions to you, typically about 3 to 5. My only goal here is that that I do such a great job and you're so impressed with the service that I deliver that you refer me to at least one person.